Okay, first thing I'm going to do is every time you go to a new tree, you want to sterilize your knife so you don't pass viruses and such from tree to tree. So, okay, sterilized. So this is the branch I'm going to air layer here. I want to see where my rooting capsule / ball is going to fit. This branch is in the way, so I'm going to cut it off. But that'll help hold this in place, so that's kind of good. Okay, so let's see. About right here, it'll sit naturally in this thing, so I can see probably right here and right here. Maybe let's see. Yeah, that should be good. So you can see we have some sap already flowing there, so I'm gonna use my knife and cut around in a circle. You want to use some force, but not too much. You just want to go through the bark layer and the cambium layer. So you don't want to go all the way through the tree. Don't get overzealous on both those. This is basically, we want to stop the flow of nutrients up the tree and force it to send roots out right here. So let's cut that away. This bark will lift off easier when the sap is flowing more in spring / summer. You can see underneath the bark is that green. That green is the cambium, and the nutrients flow through that cambium, so we want to remove the cambium layer. You want to make sure you go all the way around the tree, otherwise it'll bridge over the gap and the nutrients will all flow back here up to the top, and it'll resist growing roots if it can. And any green part you want to scrape away. And there could be a little clear layer of cambium, so you want to scrape along your cut and make sure all that green is taken care of. This step is a lot easier in the spring. Yeah, make sure you scrape all the way around. Make sure all that cambium's gone, and all we've left is the wood. So, again, you just want to get all that cambium out of there, like so. See if I can get over here. We don't want that to repair itself and not grow roots. Okay, so the roots are going to come from right here. This is like you're cutting here, and this light green, I'll expose some of it right here, you'll see. Just a light cut. That light green is the cambium layer, and that is where roots are going to form from. So I'm going to make a couple little cuts to expose more cambium, just to help the rooting process. Okay, I'm gonna make the cambium here exposed a little more. So just lightly in there, and all that green now. So just instead of just that little ring of cambium down here, we have like a whole nother cutting's worth. So I'm gonna do that on the other side as well. Just exposing some of that light green cambium. Okay, so I have my rooting hormone. I'm going to apply it up here to where I've exposed the cambium layer, and down here around the bottom. Again, all down here is just a waste of root. If you put rooting hormone here, that it doesn't need it. It has the roots down below. So just up here is where we want the rooting hormone. You can put it up higher if you want, but the roots are going to form where we've exposed the cambium, and from the very bottom here where the cambium is exposed from the cut. Let that sit for maybe 1 minute, 2 minutes, just so we make sure we get some absorption. And then we'll put our soil around there. So the soil, I've made it just wet enough so you can see water comes out through my fingertips. It stays like putty, but I can break it up if I want. You don't want it too dry, you don't want it too wet. Extra perlite in here will help as well. This is that Pro Mix. See there? That much water, but not soaking wet. So I'm going to put this in here. Now the mistake I've made here is getting soil where it connects to the other side. So you want to try and keep it in the center, and you want it to be somewhat packed in there, not as hard as you can go, kind of like the rooting bags we made. You don't want it to be too loose, you don't want it to be too packed. So I'm going to put in there probably like half strength push down. Like if I pushed all the way, you'd see the water come out, but I don't want that. I want about half strength. And our cutting is going to go right through the center here, so make sure we have good contact. And again, keep the soil out of the edge here and little pieces of sticks and such. Okay, we got one side. Got the other side. Got a black walnut falling behind us. Okay, get this where it clicks together, cleared off. Okay, I think we're pretty good here. So, now if this is going to be sitting outside, you want the black side facing the sun and the clear side facing away from the sun so you can see when the roots form. Now I'm going to place my rooting ball. See, here's my cut, there's my rooting hormone. That's where I scraped away the cambium. The roots are going to form right here. So I'm going to take my rooting ball, make sure it's centered, and I'm going to click it together. And I'm going to use, there's 2 little notches here on each side, or 4 notches I guess. I'm going to use some of that twist tie to wrap it to this branch, because if this twists while those roots are forming, it'll just rip the roots right off. So we want to secure it. Okay, here's our twist tie. So it pulls out here. It's about that much. You use a little cutter on there. Cuts that. There's these notches. We're going to put it in the notches. And then we're going to just twist a couple times. That's all it takes. And now that's not going to move, but it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing. We'll take a second one. And pull it. Make sure we're in the notch. And we'll twist that on there. Now that ball isn't going to twist. It'll sit for about 4-6 weeks. If the temperature's right, and roots will form in that ball, you'll be able to see them on this side. You shouldn't have to add water because this is pretty tight, but if it takes months, you might have to add a little bit of water up here. But we should get roots out of this.